When they come to the classroom, we try to create like a loving community environment. When the kids come in the door, they come in and they give me a hug, and usually there's activities for them to do, but they can also do some choice time just to get comfortable. We always have some music playing. We always have some things that would engage them, that would be interesting, and try to capture their imagination. I always try to think of what's going to feed their little hearts, what's going to get them excited about learning and connected with what, who they are in this world.
I think a couple of the key features that you must have for an immersion program would be community support. That's one of the main things. You need families who are willing to be involved, families who are willing to have their children learn the language and carry it on. You want people to be able to participate in the program. So some of the issues that we've seen in the past is the cost. There's not a lot of funding out there for immersion programs, so that's one of the difficulties. Another thing that you need to have is teachers who know the language. When we first started the program, we had struggles in finding teachers. We looked for first language speakers to put in the classroom so we could have the authentic language. So what we did was we set up master apprentice teams in each classroom. So each classroom would have a master speaker and a second language speaker, and we would put them together to work in the classroom as a teaching team. They also worked with a non-language speaking educational person that was licensed. So we had a first language speaker, a second language speaker, and an English speaker that were all learning the language together as they were teaching the children.
The number one thing that came up with all the people that we gathered was, we don't hear anybody speaking our languages. People weren't speaking Dakota or Ojibwe anymore. At that time, they figured that we had maybe 35 speakers in all of Minnesota left that actually were fluent and spoke Dakota. And at that time, there was maybe 1,000 Ojibwe speakers. The language was taken away by means of force, by means of being made to feel ashamed if you spoke your language. Like, my mother spoke Dakota fluently, but she would never speak it to me, because when she was in boarding school, she was punished severely for speaking her language. And she was taken away from her parents when she was just 5 years old, and she never saw her parents for years. And when she did see them again, she lost some of the ability to speak her language.
Before they get into my classroom and right after they leave my classroom, what are they going to hear? English. When they turn on the radio, when they turn on the TV, when they look at a book, what are they going to be hearing or seeing? English. So a bilingual approach to teaching in a teaching environment with the native language is good, but it doesn't lay the same type of groundwork that a full immersion setting does. It's really the only way to go if you want to generate first language speakers, because they're going to be English onslaught all day long.
It's fun to see different learning styles. Every one of the children, they have different learning styles. Some will want to translate right away, they'll try to pick it up like that. Some do lots of repetition, or they'll find new ways to embed it into their minds. But when there's a bunch of other children in the classroom and they're speaking the language and learning the language and want to learn, then another child comes in, they're going to start to do it fairly quickly too. They're ready to look at the world in a different way, and here they're getting a different way of looking and expressing the world that they're living in. It doesn't take long for them to start using the words.
We had one child that was in our program from the time she was in diapers until she was 4 years old. When they did her preschool screenings, they actually labeled her a first language speaker, because when she answered all of the questions for the screening people, she answered everything in Ojibwe. So there's a lot of stories that I hear from parents and other educators that are coming back saying, we know that this child has went through your program. We can see it in the test scores.
In our culture, we've been told all our lives that we were savages, that we didn't really count, we don't really belong. And finding out about yourself and finding out about your history and your language just opens up that flower and makes people whole again. They heal.